Good evening, afternoon, or morning. Movie Cat is at the microphone. Today I will tell you how a half-brother and his sister met before they made a fatal bet. His car against her body. Welcome to the prequel of Cruel Intentions. Cruel Intentions 2, Manchester Prep.
I've heard so much about you. Welcome to the family.
And in order not to lose this channel, I recommend to subscribe. A young guy, Sebastian Valmont, is scolded by the school principal for bad behavior. Fortunately for Sebastian, his father invited him to live in New York, so Sebastian is transferred to a new school. The principal is pleased with himself because he has already sent a negative reference to the Manchester school where the guy will study. Sebastian asks the principal how his wife is doing and then politely says goodbye. A minute later, the principal finds photographs of his naked wife in the school yearbook. Sebastian moves to New York, where his father now lives with his new fifth wife. At the entrance, Sebastian asks the doorman which of the apartments in this house his new family occupies. The doorman replies, "All ones, sir." In the living room, the father introduces Sebastian to his stepmother Tiffany and her daughter Catherine. The stepsister finishes her part on the piano and meets Sebastian with a forced smile. Suddenly Sebastian sits down at the piano himself, and he plays a more complex melody and much faster. Tiffany tells Catherine out loud that she needs to follow her stepbrother's example. Over dinner together, Catherine says that she does not consider the insignificance of years to be an obstacle to achieving her goals. Sebastian corrects her. Insignificance implies worthlessness, and to express it correctly, she needs to say lack of years. Tiffany points out to her daughter that she is not as good at grammar as her new brother. The second remark from her mother due to Sebastian's fault makes Catherine very angry. Later, while Sebastian is taking a shower, Catherine breaks in and warns him not to interfere with her life. In the morning, they both go to class in a limousine. Catherine warns her brother to pretend at school they don't know each other. Arriving at Manchester High School, Sebastian heads to the headmaster. In the reception area, Sebastian meets a pretty girl and tries to get to know her. Suddenly the principal calls him and says that he received Sebastian's reference from the previous school. A straight-A student, president of several clubs, state champion in snowboarding. The principal is glad to have such a student, who will undoubtedly strengthen the position of the school. Suddenly, a girl from the reception comes into the office. Her name is Danielle. She is the director's daughter and will study with Sebastian. At the meeting, Catherine, as president of the student club, gives the opening speech, but she is often confused by the new girl, Cherie, who constantly hiccups and then suddenly falls to the floor. Danielle is the first to realize that Cherie has choked on a gum, so she skillfully administers first aid to her. Cherie spits out the gum, which ends up in Catherine's hair. Later, Catherine asks the vice principal to exempt her from gym classes or she will tell everyone about their sex last year. Catherine goes up to the attic of the school to a cozy room to chair a meeting of the secret luxury club, which consists of schoolchildren from the richest and most influential families. The purpose of the meeting is to review the newcomers, their status and personal affairs. The first of the contenders is freshman Cherie. One of the club members collected a dossier on her. He found out that her family was even richer than Catherine's. As always, Catherine is incredibly infuriated that anyone could be better at anything than she is. Therefore, having also learned from this dossier that Cherie is a virgin, Catherine promises to make her the most famous prostitute in Manchester. The next newcomer is Sebastian. There is no information about his past life, so Catherine instructs an assistant to find a personnel file on her half-brother. Meanwhile, Sebastian accidentally meets Danielle in the library and invites her for a cup of coffee. During a break, they walk and Sebastian talks about how he ended up in New York. At home, Sebastian suddenly catches his father during a telephone conversation with his mistress. Sebastian asks his father not to cheat on his new wife, because then Tiffany will throw them both out. Later, Catherine overhears a phone conversation between Sebastian and Danielle, and then she comes in to make fun of his brother and his pathetic attempts to get closer to Danielle. Sebastian suggests that Catherine is very annoyed that modest Danielle, from a not a rich family, receives a lot of attention. In the morning, Catherine sends her friends, two twins, into the shower with Sebastian, because in her opinion, Sebastian must realize what he can lose by committing himself to a relationship with Danielle. The twins come in, take off their clothes, and ironically ask how Sebastian's relationship with Danielle is going. And then they leave. At school, Cherie finds Danielle and asks her to teach her French. Cherie promises to pay generously for tutoring. However, instead of studying, Cherie constantly tries to find out from Danielle how her relationship with Sebastian is going, that they are not moving forward. So Sebastian calls Danielle and asks her to close her eyes. Then he suddenly comes up to her and kisses. But things only get worse as Daniel gets offended and leaves. In the evening at home, Sebastian finds Catherine once again scolding the servants. Sebastian asks his sister if she has to be such a bitch. However, Catherine explains to him that her mother has made very high demands on her all her life, which means that now she also would like those around her to meet her expectations. Suddenly, Sebastian receives a call from Cherie saying that Danielle is in love with him. Cherie also tells where Danielle can be found in the evening. Sebastian, with a violin in his hands, meets Danielle in the park. The girl is pleasantly surprised, but still she invites Sebastian to stop trying so hard and just be himself. The next day, Danielle explains her strong reaction to the kiss. After all, it was her first kiss, and she dreamed that it would happen beautifully and unforgettably. Sebastian believes that a kiss cannot be planned, because all its charm is in spontaneity. He approaches Danielle and she kisses him passionately. Then she leaves for class. Suddenly, Catherine appears, having seen everything. She doesn't believe that Sebastian really wants a relationship with a modest girl. Sebastian warns his sister not to interfere in his relationship, otherwise he will retaliate by ruining her life. Catherine says that then, from that moment on, a war begins between them, and Sebastian at that very second pushes her into a huge pile of dirt, which for some reason exists on the perfectly trimmed lawn of an elite educational institution. At home, Sebastian learns from his stepmother that Edward spends a lot of time on the yacht. Knowing his father, Sebastian heads to the yacht and finds him handcuffed to a bed with his mistress in the closet. He tells the girl that Edward is married and she leaves disappointed. Sebastian is angry with his father, so he throws the key to the handcuffs out the window and leaves. Meanwhile, Tiffany and Catherine have invited Cherie and her very rich mother to dinner, whom Tiffany plans to convince to donate a large sum to the school fund. At this moment, half-naked Edward, who has returned home and is looking for tools to remove the handcuffs, runs through the corridor. Catherine sees this, goes into her stepfather's bathroom and, pointedly not noticing the handcuffs, she says that she and Sebastian are almost friends, and therefore she hopes that Edward is not going to destroy their family happiness. And in order to preserve this happiness, Catherine advises Edward to take Tiffany to her favorite restaurant tomorrow at 8 p.m. At 8:45 an accordionist will pass by, so Edward needs to order a Rolling Stones song, because Tiffany is in awe of Mick Jagger. During the song, to present the ring, then kiss for 8 seconds, without a tongue, after dinner 1 glass of grappa, then go home, 2 Viagras and make love. Catherine says that she also wrote it all down on a piece of paper and also booked a table in a restaurant, an accordionist, plus bought a ring and Viagra. The next day, Sebastian meets Danielle in the park. She struggles to overcome her embarrassment to have her first conscious kiss, and then says that she doesn't want to rush everything else. Contrary to these words, Danielle suddenly unzips Sebastian's pants and lowers herself down. But at that moment her father calls and Danielle leaves. Later she calls Sebastian and invites him to her place in the evening, because she won't have anyone at home today. Suddenly, Catherine comes into her brother's room. She found information about Sebastian's many love victories at his previous school. Catherine tries to convince Sebastian that he will be bored with someone as modest as Daniel. Catherine also adds that she and her brother are similar and could get along very well. After these words, Catherine tries to seduce her brother, but Sebastian uses all the willpower he has and pushes Catherine away. Then goes on a date with Danielle. Sebastian admits to her that he wants to leave the city with her because Catherine definitely won't leave them alone. At the same time, he believes that their feelings are strong and their love is sincere, which means that together they can do anything. Suddenly Danielle smiles and says that she is not at all in love with Sebastian and does not believe in their feelings at all. Suddenly, Catherine enters the room and kisses Danielle. The girls admit that this was the plan. Danielle was supposed to pretend to be a modest girl and make Sebastian fall in love with her. confused, Sebastian gathers his thoughts and admits that he was beaten. Then Catherine invites him to join them. She knows that her half-brother bribed the postman to replace the real reference sent to the Manchester school with one written by himself. Girls need such a master of deception, tricks and manipulation. Sebastian agrees to join in, and then the girls start by taking turns kissing him. Catherine then invites Danielle to share Sebastian between. A few days later, Sebastian heads to school in a limousine. He unpacks a gift from Danielle and finds a beautiful leather-bound diary. From this day forward, Sebastian will record all his love victories there. Sherry is riding her bike to school when she is lightly rear-ended by a limousine. Sebastian looks out of the car and offers to give the girl a ride. Sebastian says Sherry is very beautiful and offers to take a picture of her, and then he laments out loud that she can't be sexy. Sherry, of course, tries to convince Sebastian that this is not so. In the front seat, Catherine and Danielle hear groans and smile. Thank you for watching. Future relationships, intrigue and the fatal bet between Catherine and Sebastian take place in the first part of Cruel Intentions. I'll leave a link to my recap in the description. Press your thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already.